Let me now come back to a major topic for the evening, and fuel prices are expected to go down the 1st of March. That's on Thursday, and this is put out by, as usual, COPEC. They lead us all the time and give us information all the time with fuel prices, with the deregulation policy and the fuel pricing window, and it is always accurate. So we are expecting that, yes, on Thursday, 13.66 for petroleum products or petrol, and about 13.99 for diesel. Luckily, we have Duncan Amwa, who is Executive Secretary of COPEC here. And there has been a lot of, I would say, rancor about whether it's as a result of the gold for oil or whether it's as a result of international market prices or whether it's as a result of the exchange rates and so on and so forth. We have Duncan here in the studio. Good evening and thanks for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me. Good evening to you.
I hope you're doing well.
Not bad, except I still can't buy the fuel.
Even at the 13.66?
As of same time last year, Ghanaians were paying around 6 Ghana 80, less than 7 cedis.
I agree.
So at 13, it's 13, 14, it's still double. Until we get to those levels, I'm sure most Ghanaians will continue.
Are we going to get to those levels? At least 8 cities or 7 cities for petrol and diesel?
Every year, it depends on our focus. And that is why I would be a lot more excited to discuss the Gold for Oil program, because for us, it's just something to derail the critical efforts made by Bank of Ghana latter part of last year. If you recall, somewhere in November, somewhere December, when the BOG took charge of one of the key troubles of the petroleum downstream sector, which is the forex, the cedi depreciation and the rate of same, you saw that fuel prices dropped across board, all oil marketing companies. We didn't need to go and invest any gold into bringing cheaper oil or any oil. The solution exists. Unfortunately, we seem to be, deviating. We seem to be playing the lucky go, happy chap who finds a candy and thinks that can solve hunger. The real hunger would still be there. The candy will probably give you some sweetness in the tooth for a few minutes, but you come back to the hunger. So we would rather have a more detailed conversation about what exactly is the problem with all of us as far as fuel pricing is concerned. We've not had issues downstream with supply every year. We've not woken up to a situation where the numbers have gone down so much that people have to queue at the fuel pumps in order to be able to get fuel. We've not had supply issues. The biggest challenge we've all had as a people has to do with prices and the escalations of same. One would ask what brings these prices upon all of us. 3 key variables. You talk of international benchmarks. Because we import virtually everything we consume in this country by way of petroleum products. And so you become more of a price assessor or a taker. Whatever the world market throws at you is what you pay for, because you are not refining. Your refinery is shut. It's not adding anything to your national, demand. So you are importing everything. International market price dynamics would form a critical cracks of what you pay for at the pumps. Secondly, because you don't buy on the international market with your currency, the cedi, when you bring the petrol down here, you would now need to do a conversion from the dollar per metric ton now to cedi per liter, right? That conversion would be factored into how much cedis I would need to get $1, because when I need to pay back the supplier, I would need $1. So every year, your cedi performance would play a role in how much you're paying for fuel. Thirdly, government taxes and how much government will want to raise from the sale of petroleum products in the country will form the third and the last variable. Every year. The first variable being the international benchmark, you have no control. whether Russia will kill Ukraine or Ukraine will kill Russia or anybody will beat anybody in the Middle East. You don't have any control over those geopolitical factors or influences. The second bit, which has to do with your CD exchange to the dollar, is simply a function of your Bank of Ghana and, for that matter, the monetary policy people. They would have to work out a way to sustain the city's performance, right? So that has nothing to do with Russia, Ukraine. That is within your control and purview. The third factor, which is the taxes, is also within your control. So of the three variables, one is out your control. The two, that is within your control. We would continuously engage that authorities will continue to work at those two to ensure that even when world market prices surge or go up, right, and your city is stable, if there is supposed to be an increment, it will not be in the 10s and the 20s percentages. It could be 3, 4, because that's probably the margin you get. Unfortunately, every year, we are deviating these three variables and the solutions critical to these three now to go to a different, domain called gold for oil.
Yes, so anytime I meet you, I take my time to learn. And I have kept quiet because I'm listening to you attentively. And you have cited three various scenarios. And you say that this is the reason. If we're able to solve this, the prices will come down. What becomes of the gold for oil? We thought, as per government's explanation, it was going on to the international market to resolve the conversion issues that you talk about and the exchange rate issues. And so by dint of that, and the story out there is that because we started that, prices are coming down.
Every year, let me put on record that this is the second time prices are declining between second window February and first window March. Those two declines or reductions have nothing to do with gold for oil. Put that on record.
And so we shouldn't listen to government?
It's simply a function of international benchmarks declining. And then again, you also have the cedi relative stability. Although it's not gaining, it is also not depreciating as fast. So once international benchmarks go down, you heave a sigh of relief. Those are the two.
And it has nothing to do with gold for oil.
Gold for oil.
We were told. Yes.
Let me quickly add this.
Yes.
In a second. Yes. We were told that in February, Boss was going to get 3 consignment or 3 cargoes. 1 coming in last week, 2 towards the end of the month. Tomorrow marks the end of the month every year. I have not seen any OMC decline fuel prices in the month of February per our checks due to gold for oil. No. It was in January that the likes of Goil, who bought some of the cargo earlier, were able to reduce by some 40, 50 pesos. It was in January. All the cargo that we have seen in February, no impact or zero impact. Why we have a challenge with our rate direction from the germane issues now to a certain fanciful gold for oil program is that we are losing focus. The BOG demonstrated to all of us in November, December, when the CD had hit about 16 exchange to $1, the BOG came in, whatever magic or whatever trick it did, we were able to get 8 Ghana CD exchange to $1, you remember. Within that period, petrol prices had declined, together with diesel, by almost 7 Ghana cedis a litre.
But what the BOG did was to be able to control the exchange rates.
The FX, yes.
The forex, yes, on the markets. And the gold for oil. So the Bank of Ghana will either mobilize, mop up from the system so that people don't have too much dollars, or do their magics. I mean,
whatever they can do.
We'll not go into the economics now, but whatever they were doing was to make sure that there was stability. The goal for oil is also to make sure that there is stability with the dollar. And so, in effect, it is supposed to control fuel prices the way we want.
Every year, I'll beg for more time on another edition so that we go into detail this gold for oil. And I would plead that subsequently, you also have any of the proponents for gold for oil who say, okay, we are buying gold in order to be able to remove the forex bottlenecks. That cannot be true. That is not correct. That is not right. I would explain it this way. When you go to the international market to buy oil or fuel, the traders would normally require of you a letter of credit, LC. So normally it's not even the cash, spot cash or forward cash that they require. They require a bank instrument that says that give me the product to sell and in 90 days, I'll be able to repatriate your money.
To you.
If Ghana wants to solve the forex issue relative to petrol, at the start of your budget, when you are about to read your budget in October, thereabout for the following year, please, Ghana will require 4 billion USD to import petrol, right? Ghana will require maybe 3 billion USD to import the essential drugs, right, or pharmaceuticals. Ghana will require about 3-4 billion to import food, right? If you put all together, my import bill probably could be 20 billion USD. Okay, what am I exporting? What are my revenue, inflows? All put together, I'm getting 12 billion from cocoa syndicated to my oil to my, mineral resources. Now I have 8 billion, right, left to be able to offset all my importation figures, right, every year. If you came down to the banks and said, for this given year, I would need a forex shore up of 8 billion the entire year. So you guys should try and let me know how much you can be able to raise for me within the year. If the banks together could even be able to give you 4 billion, right, half of what you want, you are about 70-80% solving your forex problems, right? That is because you have planned for it in your budget, right? You know exactly what you need for the essential importation. Any other importation like tiles, electronics, and those other things, you can allow them to go and source for their own dollar. But the essentials, plan and budget for them. Once you do that, the pressure on petroleum importation is almost hedged, right? Because the BDCs or the market knows the BOG has made available the 4 billion that they require to bring in petroleum products. Would they now have to do forward FX rates such that they don't know whether when they go to the market they will get dollar or not?
Yes.
Once you're able to eliminate that and stabilize fuel prices for Ghanaians, you don't need to now go through this route, now going to take money from Bank of Ghana and gold resources from Bank of Ghana and give it to Boston to pay for oil to bring to the country, to sell to BDCs, OMCs, and then hope that that will come and reduce your fuel price. Please, you are tinkering with a very dangerous experiment. And I say this because personally, I was in the same space when Boss earlier went out on this sort of trading expedition, and I would want them here. In the end, when they were not even using resources from Bank of Ghana, be it gold, be it cash, the dollar, Boss ended up leaving you and I hundreds of millions of dollars of trade debts, right? In the end, you wake up and we say we have to increase Boss margin. Boss has certain liabilities
to be able to pay its liabilities.
So now we are simply introducing Boss in the trading loop, right? With resources, be it gold or be it cash, to go and bring product. Every year, do you know the danger therein? 2. Then I can probably terminate this conversation. If Boss goes to get the product at open market rate, because Boss is not going to get any cheaper product from anywhere. If there is anything like cheaper product, the ministers who went to UAE earlier would have come with them. There's nothing such. So we are only pre-financing Boss to be able to bring products. Now, once Boss get the pre-financing he needs to bring the product, let's say $1,000 a metric ton.
Yes.
If I were an oil trader that is working in Ghana and I want to collapse Boss, you know what I'll do? I have the refineries. I have the resources already. Boss has brought theirs at $1,000 a metric. I'll decline mine to $950 and see who goes to Boss. So you know what will happen? Whatever resources that Bank of Ghana put into Boss will now be stuck. In the end,
it becomes a debt.
It becomes and the product has not moved.
And we need to put the margin on again.
Exactly. So you are simply going to create challenges. Now, the second other challenge every year is this. Boss has brought the product. Boss says that because I don't want to create debts in my trail. So if a free year OMC, Kwame OMC, Kofi OMC want to buy the product, bring cash, right? The same OMCs at the same table are getting 90 days, 120 days credit from Trafigura, from BP, from Glencore, the other traders. They give them 120 days, 90 days credit. Boss has brought product and said, bring cash.
Bring me cash.
So every year, if you have products coming from Trafigura.
Of course, I go to them.
Exactly.
And I deal with them.
Trafigura has brought you product.
90-day credit.
You are selling to be able to pay Trafigura in 90 days. Now, boss says that for me, I won't sell to you for 90 days. Pay me cash. If you go and pay cash, do you know what you are telling Trafigura? You the OMC that is buying cash. You are telling Trafigura, who has given you 90 days, that you don't require 90 days credit. So the product, you can pay cash. If I were Trafigura, I'll come to you for my money.
Come
cash.
Yes.
Because I can't give you my products, 10 of these bottles, sell and give me my money. Then somebody comes, my competitor comes with other bottles, 3 of them, right? And says that, oh, you are going to buy 5 from him. But for him, you take the money that I have given to you by way of products, right? And give it to him. Every year. This in trading would lead to what you will call disruption, market disruption, right? Either of the two scenarios, either the OTCs decide to undercut prices and thereby leave boss products unsustainable to the market, or the OTCs now decide to also sell for cash. Either of the two will lead to a very difficult downstream for all of us. And that is why we think it's a very dangerous expedition. If you found a solution with the CD dollar, that BOG was able to do some magic in November, December, right? If we have not been able to budget for our petroleum importation in our budget 2023, let us begin to do so for 2024, right? But whilst working at that, encourage the BOG to use the gold it has, the dollar it has, to shore up the value of your Ghana cedi, right? Instead of using BOG resources, by resources I mean gold or dollar, to be given to boss to go and import product or pay to an OTC to bring product to boss. If you go on that expedition, you are simply entering a market that the BOG has no interest in.
They say that we will not need that much dollars if we are sending the gold to the suppliers.
Every year, there's no currency stronger than gold. No currency in the world. In fact, gold is dollar. And so if you require gold to be able to give to somebody to go and pay dollar, you are simply selling the gold. Does BOG need to go through all these stresses? And I have said this. The current trading layers is only 3. The oil trader brings to the BDC. The BDC sells to the oil marketing company. You and I go there to the fuel stations we buy.
To the OMCs.
Gold for oil. If you go through the BOST presentation itself or MPA presentation.
I'm looking at it here. I'm actually looking at the presentation.
Look at the number of layers being introduced. Bank of Ghana PMMC.
So Bank of Ghana PMMC, and then there is a gold broker.
The gold broker.
And then it goes
PMMC,
to the
again,
supplier, PMMC again. Then they pay through Bank of Ghana with the gold to supplier.
To an intermediary.
Or to an intermediary.
Somewhere.
And then
the intermediary now pays to the oil trader. The oil trader now brings you to BOST.
And then BOST
now
to
sells
BDCs.
it to BDCs to OMCs. Every year.
And the BDCs they pay the cash to the banks, and then it comes back to Bank of Ghana.
Every year. The current setup has 3 layers. OTC to BDC to OMC. The layer that you've just described, how many of them? 8.
There's about 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 back.
So every year, if 3 layers is making you pay this much for fuel, 8 layers will make you pay how much? Again, you would only assume that even all the 8 layers will be clean and lean, right? Because inefficiency anywhere within the loop would have to increase the prices, or we'll simply pretend to drop the prices, right? Because we want to get a public face. But in the end, whenever we drop $1, it will go into public debt, because you can't run away from fuels trading. If you owe me 100 million USD, and you decide to go and sell this water that I gave you to you for 100 million every year, for 20 million, I will not care. I'll come for my 100 million. You will still pay. So that 80 million that you are dropping because you want to satisfy a certain public, good, you are simply delaying payment of that debt. And every year, I put this out again. Anytime governments, right, especially within the African sub-region, have gone to their people to say, I'm giving you something for free or cheap, I would call for caution and restraint. You've seen some before. You
Yes,
have
of
seen
course I
some
have.
before. The market is selling tomato for 20 cedis. Government comes and say, I'm selling it for 10 cedis. Please be careful. Right? Government is not producing tomato. Government is also buying from the same source, is transporting, is doing everything. Then government says, I'm selling it to you half the price. He is only delaying or deferring that debt you should have paid today for you to pay 100 times of it another day. In COVID era, we were told free water, free electricity. Today, anything you buy, there's COVID tax. I mean, what sort of life is this? And we want to transfer this now into the petroleum importation space. I would need any of them. I would need any of them. We will come with our facts and figures. They should come with their facts and figures. We will double check with the traders. Every year, if I am a trader and I'm giving you 120 days to sell this product and return my money, and boss has brought you the same product
And
says give him cash because he cannot do, I mean, whatever. Every year, if you are able to take my money that I've given you for 120 days to trade with and give to boss, I'll come for my money the next day. Because the money is there.
Are you saying that I agree that do I say I even agree?
You don't have to agree, but let them come and defend this.
So the prices of fuel, and that's what you have put out. With the international price, of course, for petrol is decreasing from $878.41 per metric ton to $849.25 per metric ton. That's about 3.32% decrease in the price for petrol. And so we are expecting about 13.66. If it goes back to 878.41 per metric ton again, maybe in the next pricing window, are you saying that the gold for oil will not affect it and that the prices will go up?
Afri, let me help you. Let me grant all that proponents of gold for oil are telling the public. Let me grant them everything. Okay? I'm granting them everything. You say that gold for oil can be able to achieve 50% market penetration at best. The other 50%, where do you expect it to come from? The open market, right? So if I brought this water to you 10 cedis, the open market is bringing it to you 15 cedis. And I say that because I gave it to you 10 cedis, there's a variance of 5 cedis. Go and reduce it by 5 cedis. The pump cannot record 5 cedis because I'm getting another, right, from the open market at 15. So I will need to put the two together in order to get my average prices.
So that will come to about 12.5.
Even if you grant everything that they put out there, right? At optimization of gold for oil, like they say, they can only cover 50% of the market. The remaining 50, if the OTCs were to decide today, okay, if you sell it this way, we'll also double the price. Okay, now buy. It's an expedition. And I think that if there's a proven solution which is to manage your forex exists, don't go through all these layers. PMMC, go and buy gold. And every year, you and I know, anytime you put resources through such stress levels, you cannot get optimal efficiency because if one person decides within the value chain to be inefficient, everybody else will have to pay for it. Is this the kind of expedition we want to do?
It means we have a big problem because for the forex, there are structural challenges which needs to be worked on, even by the Bank of Ghana. We saw, yes, around the period you talk about, they had been able to control it. But prior to that, they were increasing the MPC rates each and every month, each and every quarter. We still saw the dollar running. There were lots of issues affecting it. Now, if those issues affect it again, then we are doomed as a country.
Afri, let me show you one thing the Bank of Ghana did that we applauded them publicly, brilliantly. You know, somewhere November 2022, there was a clear announcement that they are now going to focus their forex availability to only essential importation. You recall?
Yes, I recall that.
It's a bold step. And it's one of the reasons your dollar CD sort of stabilized and declined, right? If they knew this ahead of the 2023 budget, they should have just provided for your petroleum importation. So that I know I'm going to spend $4 billion importing fuel into the country. My inflows total $12 billion between petrol, pharmaceuticals, and probably agricultural products, right? The three. If I put money into petrol, I am simply stabilizing the economy because once petrol prices go up, PURC will come and tell you to pay more for electricity because their IPPs are generating from fuel, right? Mm-hmm. Once petrol prices go up, GPRTU is asking you, the commuter, to pay more. The kinky seller is reducing the ball of kinky size because he is now having to pay more to move kinky or the corn from one point to the other. So, in order not to destabilize or distort your own market, right, it will be prudent and reasonable to plan fiscally for these essential importations that the BOG itself in November 2022 decided they were going to cut back on. If you found that solution, you were almost 40-50%, the solution halfway through. So that instead of applying or allocating the same amount of dollar resource for importation of kotoje, right, for towels, for skipping ropes, for those things, right, apply the minimum resources you have to the essentials. Petrol is one of them. Without fuel, when you wake up, Mr. President cannot move.
We have to come back to this conversation, especially we need to increase production. That's a structural problem and a fundamental problem we need to address, and government, World Bank of Ghana needs to address. But thank you very much. We'll come back to you and we'll make sure that we get somebody from government to sit on this gold for oil, because if we are doing this policy as a government and it's not yielding any results according to the aspects, then we have a problem. And this has been announced all over that it's going to help stabilize, at least, even if not reduce, stabilize the petroleum prices. Unfortunately, I'm not able to read text tonight because our time is up. But let me pick the very first two and then I'll close. With waste fuel in Ghana, the solution of Ghana inflation is not the goal for oil, but rather how to reduce our expenditure as a country. I've lost hope in this country. Unfortunately, you didn't add your name. Why won't this government just tell the citizens the truth and stop this Ajana 1, Ajana 2? Things fall apart. From the center cannot hold. What a government. Prince Kampa from Koforidia sent in that one. I really have to close. Lots of messages coming through. Duncan Amwa is Executive Secretary for CUPEC. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us tonight. And we'll come back. We'll definitely come back on this project. Earlier on, I had Esther Dasani, Manager for Affirmative Action or Finance Action for Women in Africa, FAWA, series in Ghana. My name is Kosia Fiye, and this is the bottom line. Good evening.